Thanks to Ferrari's efforts, an F1 launch season that started with fictitious 2023 cars, livery-only debuts, renders, and teases has actually come to life this week. Ferrari certainly lifted the standard when it conducted its first live launch event since 2020. That was more than just an online stream, and it did so with elegance. Not just the media were invited to Fiorano. There in their own grandstand, the Tifosi were also there. Along with being on display, the car also performed its shakedown run in front of the live crowd during the allowed 15 km demonstration run under the regulations. And neither were the drivers of the vehicle. I watched the reveal live on Ferrari's YouTube page, and was a bit downplayed when I first saw the SF-23. It looked more similar to the F-175. But when I took a close look, there were a lot of design changes the SF-23 had, which makes it a complete redesign. The 2023 Ferrari Formula One Challenger may appear to be a logical progression of the quick but unsuccessful vehicle from the previous year. However, the team claims it has been fully redone. Enrico Cardile, head of chassis, described the car as an evolution while pointing out that significant aerodynamic and mechanical improvements can see to boost performance and meet the characteristics the team is aiming for. Charles Leclerc has expressed a wish for his driving style to be more dependable at various corner speeds. This is a huge adjustment because he described the automobile from last year's model as being too open and having too many different traits. Let's say the car balance last year was quite open and away from slow to high-speed corners. I won't go into the specifics, but we've been working on that to try and put the balance closer from the low speed to the high speed. On the simulator it seems good. The new SF-23 from Ferrari uses the same general aerodynamic design as their 2022 Formula One car. Although they have been further optimized, the radiator intake and the undercut on the front corner of the sidepod remain fairly similar. Ferrari has also preserved the sidepod's upper surface, or bathtub. On this surface, there are fewer louvers, although they will undoubtedly vary based on the particular cooling needs of each circuit. The bathtub sidepod top surface is not quite as spectacular as it was last year, as can be seen in these comparative photos. The radiator cooling in this region will be more effective thanks to these exit louvers located immediately behind the upper portion of the radiator. The open area will be fairly comparable because the inlet sweeps wider around the sidepod's corner and the aperture is longer and shallower. However, the undercut has more area because the inlet's undersurface is probably higher. Compared to previous year, the sidepod front corner undercut is a little more cosmetically acceptable. Its less vertical outer body surface will be more sensitive to changes in airflow direction. When the front wheels are turned, it's crucial to design a surface with varying airflow that is as resilient as possible. The airflow in this location is drastically different when the front wheel angle is different in fast and slow turns. It's fascinating to see how much unpainted carbon was used on the surfaces to reduce weight, which just serves to highlight how challenging it is for even the best teams to stay under the weight limit. Compared to last year, the front wing has changed. Between the front element and the second element, which is highlighted in green in the image below, there is the currently typical full-width slot gap. Additionally, the red highlight below shows how the leading edge of the front wing's rear flap is somewhat constant heading outboard before vanishing swiftly from the inside of the front tire. When the flow coming off the top surface of the front wing connects up to the tire squirt, which is when the airflow is squeezed out as the front wheel rotates onto the track surface, it will generate as much outwash as possible. This will provide reasonably consistent airflow between the inside of the front wheels and the chassis with varying front wing angles in that area. Ferrari has been concentrating on increasing outwash along with these vanes, which are indicated by the magenta circle on the image above and turn airflow outboard. These laws have made an effort to minimize this, therefore I would anticipate that the FIA would be closely inspecting these vanes. The legality of the vanes that I've indicated in the pink ellipse and their connection to the third and fourth wing flaps is in doubt. Mercedes brought the following solution to the US Grand Prix last year, however the FIA ordered that the brackets be removed. The official's decision would have been based on the shape of the vane since it was necessary for it to comply with the rules, otherwise Mercedes would not have tried it. This year, the rules governing the use of similar materials were revised to set limits on their quantity, total size, and curvature. I can only presume that the modifications Ferrari made to the vehicle adhere to the letter of the new rules. It appears like Ferrari is attempting to circumvent this requirement by claiming that the three outer ones are being utilized for separate purposes because you can see that they differ slightly from the inner two. I wish you luck in that. The issue of what is considered the main purpose must always be considered in addition to following the rules. So you may run into issues if there is something on the car that is legal and purportedly for one reason, in this case, maintaining the slot gap, but the FIA thinks it's for another, for instance, aerodynamic gain. The amount of turbulence the front tire produces depends on how much of the tire squirt can flow outboard. It will have a negative impact on the airflow at the leading edge of the side pods and underfloor if it comes inboard. The car is supported by a spring or torsion bar, and the front suspension consists of a pushrod-driven inner damper with a yellow accent, to support the front of the car and lessen the ride height variation when the loads are changing under braking. The wishbone pickups where they join the chassis, highlighted in green, feature a little degree of anti-squat, anti-lift. The forward leg of the lower front wishbone is high above the steering track rod, which is highlighted in pink. It's noteworthy to observe how curved the top surface of the top wishbone's front leg is. This is regulated by a 3.5:1 ratio, and typically, this component would have a straightforward symmetrical aerodynamic profile. However, it appears that Ferrari created a more lopsided aerodynamic profile, much like an upside-down wing. The performance of the leading edge of the sidepod is improved by controlling and realigning the airflow coming from the trailing edge of the front wing as much as feasible. Pushrod-driven, quite similar to the design from the previous year is the rear suspension. However, it appears as though the forward leg of the top wishbone inboard mounting is positioned a little lower, providing additional anti-lift to lessen the change in rear ride height under braking. A portion of the Coke bottle aperture is taken up by the real body profile at the Coke bottle area, where the body narrows towards the rear tires. I'm not sure if I like this option because the Ferrari differs significantly in this area from the other cars we have already seen. Given the issues with the engines last year, new Ferrari team principal Frédéric Vasseur has vowed that reliability will take precedence above strategic advancements and improvements in tire management in 2023. The priority for everybody is the reliability because at this stage of the season, if you don't have the reliability, you are not able to do the 3 days testing, then you start off on the wrong foot. We did the mileage that we have to do on the dyno. We are all optimistic, but only Bahrain will tell us where we are for reliability and performance. So far I would say that it's all okay. During the early part of the previous season, Ferrari experienced numerous power unit problems, most notably for Charles Leclerc, who was dominating in Spain and Azerbaijan, and Carlos Sainz, who was finishing second in Austria. Due to the need for reliability, Ferrari was compelled to run the engine package below its optimum performance. This was especially true of the turbo, which needs to work extremely hard to maintain reliability. Vasseur stated that the engine has performed as expected during dyno running and that everything appears to be in order based on that. However, Ferrari won't know for sure that its issues have been resolved until the car has accumulated enough mileage in Bahrain. Ferrari hasn't been able to develop the engine since the F1 power unit freeze went into effect last year, but accessing its full performance will result in a performance boost because Ferrari will be able to push the engine further and will have obtained permission to make reliability-related changes as permitted by the rules. Enrico Gualtieri, Ferrari's head of power units, is optimistic that the company's dependability shortcoming has been addressed. He added that the V6 engine and the electric motors were the main emphasis and that Ferrari had updated its assembly processes. Last year, Ferrari already possessed what might have been the strongest engine in Formula 1. It can ultimately maximize that performance if its dependability issues have been resolved. The only modifications allowed are those related to reliability, which was our Achilles heel last season. We focused on the internal combustion engine and the electric motors. We also revised our assembly procedures. We tried to understand the root causes of the problems we encountered on track and used all our available tools to try and solve them. The Maranello team is hoping that a change of leadership would improve its luck and enable it to resume its winning ways. Can the SF-23 live up to expectations? Will Ferrari's pre-season testing prove successful? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section down below. We appreciate you watching our video today. If you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel and switch on the notifications to be notified when we release new content in preparation for the 2023 Formula 1 season.